I'm really excited to have Christian here with us. I'm excited because I've known him for almost 5 years. We've both been in the mentorship for almost 5 years. Christian, would you kindly introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your business today?
Yeah, so like you said, my name is Christian. I've been in the mentorship almost 5 years. When I started, I didn't know much, right? I didn't know how to talk to sellers. I didn't know anything really, and I basically learned everything from this mentorship. And the thing that I think helped me is that I didn't overthink things. I just kind of took action. Like if Gary said, "Hey, go run through that wall," boom, right through that wall, no questions asked. So, in the as I was taking action and I didn't think like, what if I fail? What if I do this? What if it doesn't go? I started just generating leads and generating leads, and that was kind of my focus, right? Just kind of generating leads, and as I had as the problems came up on the leads, then I'd go find somebody that could help me with it, right? I didn't know what to do with it, but then I could call somebody, right? Hey, Gary, this is what's going on. What could I do? Hey, just calling, whoever I met in the community that was ahead of me, and that's really what helped me a lot. Right now, my business, right, I'm doing a lot of wholesaling cash deals, a lot of wholesaling sub two deals, and I'm doing I'm trying to do one or two fix and flips a month. So that's what it's looking like now. The latest one I got, it was actually is I'm gonna be putting it in the market here in the middle of the month, maybe around the 15th. But this one was actually a subject to deal. This was a subject to deal. So this one's actually a great example. The people, they were in foreclosure. They were about to lose their house. They were 30,000 behind, and they wanted the most money for the house. So I was actually able to offer them a little bit more money by buying the property subject to instead of going on and getting a hard money loan. So that's kind of what set me apart from the people that I offered to to do the subject to, and then they have a lien against the house, so their funds are protected, their money's protected, and they're giving me the time to go ahead and fix it and list it, and that's helping both of us, right? They're getting more money, and I'm able to actually come into the property with less money than if I did get a hard money loan. So, but yeah, that's my business right now. That's what I'm working on. I'm I'm trying to now. I'm really trying to do more flipping and more wholesaling than buying subject to deals. Just want to get my capital up, but once I get some money saved up, I'm gonna start buying some more. Right now, I have actually 12 subject to deals that I bought myself with no partners in Texas and San Antonio and Austin area.
How many deals do you do in California every year?
Oh man, I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know. Maybe two, three a month, something like that. Not all big ones, right? Not all huge deals. Some deals are small, but there's some big ones in there.
So, what's your top market that you work in?
I I I do a lot in California because I like the flipping here and the wholesaling cash deals here. But I don't know if I like the subject to deals here. I've had more success with subject to deals in other places. They're just more open to it, and it really depends on the market that you're in, right? Like if you're trying to find a subject to deal in San Diego, it's a lot tougher than if you're trying to find one in, let's say, Victorville. Um, but it really depends a lot on how much activity is on that market, right? Like how quick they're selling, what their demand is, whether you're gonna find some subject to deals there or not.
So, in your wholesaling, in the process of becoming a successful wholesaler, what was the most important lesson do you think that you had to learn to break through? And because a lot of people struggle, and I know that you're doing the deals constantly and consistently. So, what was that one mighty lesson you had to learn to get there?
Um, my focus had to be shifted to like money making activities. My focus, there throughout the day, there's so many things that you could be doing that don't generate you any leads and don't they generate you any money. I at first when I started, this is actually a great example. I didn't want to. I was so terrible at talking to sellers. I felt like I didn't want to talk to them, and but I still wanted to feel like I was doing something right. So I'd go and I'd be driving for dollars, and I'd get a huge list. I never called this list. Never made any money from this list. Right? It was a waste of time, even though I felt like I was doing something. So really shifting my focus to thinking, you know what, it's between this hours and this hours, and right now people pick up the phone. So I need to be on the phone. And I was basically either dialing leads during those hours or door knocking, but focusing on money on activities.
So what brought that aha moment? How did you finally realize that you were wasting time on non-money producing activities? What was the spark that got that aha?
It was just so long that I wasn't making any money. I just wasn't making any money, and I'm like, what? Something needs to change. What needs to change? And really, I knew what it was, but I didn't want to accept it until I was like, no, you know what? I need to stop. I'm not gonna go over there, and that's what I ended up having. That's what I told myself. I'm not gonna go drive for dollars until I know what everybody in this list is doing with their house. Like once I know, I'll go again, and that's how it started.
So it was just finding some truth in yourself, facing the so nothing's
Well,
kind of
no, but that's kind of what happens, right? Like even though with the call calling, I feel like a lot of people say, okay, I'm gonna call for an hour, and they get on the phone and they get in their computer and they make two calls and they get cussed and they're like, okay, I'm gonna go wash the dishes real quick, I'll be back. Then their dog is over there playing and they play with their dog. They come back and they're like, oh, I only got 15 minutes left. And there was no calls made, and it was kind of building up that muscle that helped me, right? Like, okay, now I did it for an hour. I could do it for an hour and a half. I could do it for 2 hours. I could do it for 3 hours. You know, basically building that muscle of just like being on the phone back to back and trying to look for opportunities.
This is awesome conversation. Hey, everybody, if you have a question for Christian, raise your hand, please. If you don't know how to do that, go to the React and you can raise your hand there. I don't have to be the only one questions here, although I'm enjoying this immensely here in Christian's story. All right, so where were we? So when you got your first deal, and were you struggling to find buyers, or how did a lot of people I notice, they finally figure out what they're doing wrong, and then they start getting contracts, but then they struggle to sell the contracts.
Okay, that's good. The first thing I did actually, and this is I didn't worry. Like I was too dumb to even be concerned. Okay, like I didn't even like, oh, what if I don't find a buyer? It didn't even cross my mind. But when I got the deal, I just went to somebody that did have buyers. Um, I literally went to Keegley, that company with Jamil, and I said, hey,
Right.
look, I have this. What can you do? And they told me what price they needed to be at, and I got it at that price. They sold it for me, done. And now I do this for a lot of people now. I have buyers. I have a list of buyers in Texas and in Las Vegas, here in California. So if somebody finds a deal, I'd be more than happy to help them sell it. Or even if they're close to getting the deal, maybe I'd be happy to give them a number that one of my buyers would pick it up at. But that was the first thing I did. I didn't worry. I just found somebody that had the buyers, and then from that point on, I just focused. I At that point of my life, right, when I saw that I could just I could just pass that task off to somebody, I just focused on generating more leads and getting more contracts and getting them sold. After I had a lot of contracts going and stuff like that, then I started looking for my own buyers and that sort of thing. But that's how it started. I just partnered with somebody that already had them.
Was it an issue for you when you first started?
No, because I partner with them and they put the EMD.
So you would pass it right off to Keighley and they do the EMD. Did you have some other outlets, partners that you were working dispo with?
At that time, I didn't. But the reason I didn't is because I knew they would put my EMD, and that was the biggest thing for me. So, in the future, when I started helping people sell deals, that's something I would do for them too. If it's a deal and I really believe in it, I will put the EMD. And that's what they did for me.
Okay, I'm asking you these questions. I have to be I should put a frame around this. I have it's a slightly satirical approach to the four phases of wholesale learning that people have to get through before they can be successful. The first is lead love, falling in love with those leads
Hmm.
and doing everything you can to make a purse out of it. What do they call it? A sow's ear, you know. Then the next is EMD dread,
Yeah.
and then I'm sorry, contract high. You get too excited about the contract and forget now what, right? You got to sell it. At least sounds like you figured that out right away.
Hmm.
That became I've seen a lot of people get stuck at that, you know. They're loving their contracts, but they're not going anywhere. They,
Hmm.
they just keep getting contracts and not performing. Then I
Hmm.
say EMD dread because finally you realize you need capital coming from somewhere, and you work that out by getting it out of your dispo partner. But
Hmm.
I assume that you had to give up quite a lot of your deal, the
Yeah, you
potential
do. You give
deal,
up like half.
half, right? You're going to giving up half because they're doing half the work, right?
Yep.
Makes sense. And then the final is dispo despair. So eventually you got to get those buyers. How important is that to a successful wholesale business, having your roster of buyers?
Oh, it's very important, and it's a game changer once you do have them, right? It's a game changer when you do have them because I can't tell you how many times on a random day somebody called me and they asked me for help, and for me, I spent the time to build that list up and build a system where I could email or text and these people right away. For me, it meant like, okay, that somebody called me and that's $10,000 on the phone today that I don't need to work for, that I need to generate the lead. Like it's just, and the reason was because I spent the time building this buyers list, right? But it's super important. And once you start doing your own, you're not gonna lose so much out of the deal, right? You're giving up half.
So on that 5 year timeline between when we started with started participating in the PACE world, at what point on that timeline did you get to that point where you had that buyers list and you were
Maybe
uh,
like a year and a half.
wow, so you got there pretty quickly.
Yeah, yeah. That's something I was always working on the background. I built my systems up, and if I wasn't calling sellers, I was looking for buyers to add to my list and posting in different groups. And when they would sign up, I would call them and let them out. So, but I understood that the value of this list, right? I understood that any day, once I have this list together, somebody could just call me, and that was $10,000, $15,000 on the phone.
Amazing. That's amazing. Maricela, can you turn your video on?
No, I can't. Not right now, unfortunately, but I'm here.
All
Christian,
right, you're just going to be a voice in the dark then. You have a
I'll be a
question
voice
for
in the
Christian?
dark today.
Do you have a question for Christian?
Yes, pleasure meeting you on here, Christian. Question for you. You mentioned systems. So what are some systems that are part of your everyday that allow you to flow and to
Right
make
now, I use IREI Reply a lot. I use IREI Reply for my buyers and for reaching out to sellers as well. For the SMS feature, right? To be specific, I don't really email people through IREI Reply right now. And then I also have Investor List for the dispo. So I use both. I have a private list on my IREI Reply, and I have Investor List, and then I reach out to sellers through IREI Reply.
and you said I as in indigo, V as in Victor, I as in indigo?
I'm gonna type it right here.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
So
I reply.
my internet's a little flaky, so I apologize. It's misbehaving at the moment. But I heard REI reply that that's built on Go High Level, right?
It is. That's all it is.
Yeah, it's Go High. Well, it's got a lot of content that Go High Level doesn't come with. That makes it work well for your kind of
Somehow
business.
it's cheaper.
Well, yeah, because if you buy the way Go High Level works, they're designed to be resold.
Mm,
So the resellers, if they're buying a in bulk, they can discount it more than the company does directly for individual buyers. And that's based on, your ability to support, I think. When you have uh, a big clientele, you can, and you're very focused on specific clientele, it's much more economical to support people in a single vertical rather than, think about the mothership. They're supporting people in all kinds of verticals.
yeah.
So I think that's part of the reason. Yeah, I'm showing my tech background here. So
And Christian, do you use the dialer or do you make calls from REI?
They have a dialer. They have a single line dialer that I use. So
Okay.
really, when we text people and somebody says, "Give me an offer," I might give it to them through text and see what they say. If they're not wanting to get on the phone, but they go on a separate list and dial this. Basically, that's this dialer from Area Reply, and they get called on all week.
Okay, cool. Thank you for sharing. Appreciate
any
you.
other questions? Those are great questions, Mari.
Thank you.
Really appreciate that. So, Nayeli, you got a question too?
Christian, do you
Let me bring you up here.
It's her birthday.
don't have to do that?
Yes, I do.
Oh, we're gonna have to sing happy birthday.
Oh, that's right. I keep forgetting it's your birthday today.
Christian, do you use VAs too?
Yeah, I have some VAs. I have two VAs that do the SMS, and I have one VA that just kind of uploads my list to Investor Lift, and they clean up my area reply. So basically, whenever somebody calls me from Investor Lift, they make sure that the information gets updated, and I know where they're buying, and I know their email. Basically, they just go double check the information from area reply from Investor Lift. But yeah,
Did you train them yourself or
yeah. Yeah, I had a lot. I'll tell you guys this. I did test a lot of those companies. They train your VAs, and every single one of them kind of sucked, right? They're not going to be perfect for what you're doing, and I think that you could get somebody that's a little bit trained, but you're still going to have to do some training yourself and get them where you will need them to be.
where did
That's
you
been
find
They used to be this. I don't know if they're still alive. There was a company called V1 Source, and what they would do is they would introduce you to three VAs. There was a one-time fee. They'd introduce you to three VAs, and then after that one fee, you'd pay them individually through PayPal or however. So that's how I got them. I just met them. Like I hired that company. They introduced me to some, and then I just pay them myself from there.
Okay, got
But it
it.
was a lot of training myself.
How long do you think it took you to train them?
It depends what you want to do with them, but I think, like for example, if somebody's gonna call, I think you could train pretty good in like in a week.
Okay.
you give them a script.
Yeah. You got to give them a script.
Did you train them on like pre-foreclosures too, or just like generic?
No, it was generic, more generic, and the reason it was because the list for foreclosures was not big enough for me to keep them busy all day. So I needed a bigger list, and they just have to be more generic.
Okay.
For the ones that are texting now, that's when I started. The ones right now that are texting, they're only texting foreclosures. So they're trained on the foreclosure stuff now, but that took a while. Let's say for that took me like 2 months probably to get them where I wanted them to be.
Oh wow. At what point do you jump in when they are talking to your leads?
It depends what time, how close for me,
Okay.
right? If they're like a week from the auction, I want to talk to them now. I don't care. But that's a big factor for me is like, well, how close to the auction. And keep in mind, I market to Texas a lot and to Georgia, and they only do it once a month. So I know all the time, like, okay, the auction's in a week. I need to talk to everybody. But really, I try to get everybody on the phone. The goal is their job is not to text back and forth and close somebody over text. Their goal is to get them to tell me when I could call them.
Okay, so you come in and you close them. They're not trained to close.
No, they're not trained to close.
Stevie said, when do you make calls yourself?
Uh, I well, I talk to a lot of, depends how busy I am, right? I talk to a lot of sellers. Towards the end of like I said, as I get closer to the foreclosure, I usually have a list of, everybody that said, hey, I'm interested, I want an offer. The list is probably like 15 to 20 people by the end of the month. So the end of the month, I call everybody every day. Like the last week, I call everybody every day. Because I'm hoping because what it is, right, those people that we give an offer over the phone were people that refuse to get on the phone. So I'm kind of trying to catch them by surprise.
Any more follow-up there, Nayeli?
No, that was all.
I have a question.
Okay, Nelvik, do you want
Happy
to turn
birthday.
on your video?
Yeah, can you guys see me?
You turn your video on. Let me find you. I'll bring
It's
you up
on.
here. Okay, give me a second. I'll find you bring you up here. Questions for Christian?
Yeah, so I just wanted to know, Christian, obviously because you work with the VAs, do you provide scripts for
Yes.
them? And do you create those scripts yourself?
Yes. So I'll tell you this. Initially, I gave them scripts that I got from people, from Pace, from other people's scripts that we put together with other people. But as time went by, I kind of went tuning it. But when I started, I just gave them, scripts that other people had. That worked okay. That didn't. But like, for example, I started switching from calling everybody to just foreclosures. And when I did that, that's when I started doing my own scripts.
Okay, thank you.
The
You're
one thing
good?
I will tell you guys about hiring VAs is that you want to do this first, okay? Don't think that you hire a VA and then you figure out how to do the script and then, you figure out your system. No. Figure out your system first, figure out your scripts first, figure out everything first. So it's, for me, I was the one calling, if you guys got the time, you should do it too. And kind of, because you're going to understand the responses that they're getting and then the setbacks that they're going to have and the issues that they're going to have. So I would say, build the system up first and then plug them in.
I guess Nelvik's done asking questions. So let me ask you this, Christian. Are you a one-man show primarily, or do you have a partner or you handle
No,
both acquisition and dispo all the way?
no, I have people at this position, right? They use my systems, but I help them. I train them and stuff like that. I have one person like that, and I have one TC.
So you
But I do the acquisitions myself.
okay, but you do all the acquisitions, and
Mhm.
then you have are they partners in the business or just how you
No,
handle
they're not partners. They're dispo.
Do they get paid on percentage or?
They
Yeah.
get paid on a percentage.
Okay. Also, while we're dissecting your operation here, it's good to hear how people structure their business.
Yeah, somebody. What happened with the dispo person? Somebody reached out to me from Argentina. I guess they were talking. They were reaching out. They were working with some guy from Argentina that's in sub 2, and that guy recommended me. And he wanted. He didn't want. He just wanted to get paid. He wanted a job. So I was okay, great. Perfect.
So how many deals are you doing a month, year? What?
Well, here probably, like I said, probably 2, 3. Overall, probably like 6, 7
6, 7 a week, a month, or
a
what?
month.
A month. Okay. And are you trying to grow from there, or are you at a comfortable place?
You know, right now, actually, I'm trying because I've seen more money on the flips. So I'm trying to build my system up to do more flips instead. Um, that's really it right now, right? Right. So I'm not. I used to wholesale more. I used to wholesale like 9, 10 deals a month, but I'm been switching off to the flips, and that's actually making me more money. So that's. But at the same time, you know, you can't take on too many flips at the same time because, I mean, you know how that goes.
Well, you need to listen to the session with Yanni last week. He's scaling. You know,
Oh yeah.
look. I love flipping myself. It's just very hard to get deals out here, and I don't want to do it from a distance. But it's definitely a disease for which there's no known cure. You know, so once you're hooked on doing flips, it's kind of hard to
Hmm.
you can't get it out of your blood so easy, right? Don't you feel that way?
I do. Yeah, absolutely.
Brett's got a question for you. Let me bring him up. Hey, Brett, question
Hey,
for Christian.
yeah, thanks for all this information, Christian. This is great. As Gary said, I'm new, and so just kind of taking everything in. But one thing Gary just touched on is, you know, here in California and doing a little bit. But what do you do? I mean, do you just buy sight unseen in Texas and
No.
the other? So you have people there that you're working with.
So one thing I learned the hard way to get an inspection out there. If you're gonna buy the house over there, okay, go get an inspection. It's $500. It's gonna save you more than $500
Sure, in the long run, yeah.
in the long run. It is. I definitely bought some houses where I was like, what is this? What is this? There was one in Corpus Christi. The guy didn't let me. He let me go get photos, but not really do an inspection. And it was such a mess. It was such a mess. It was upside down so bad that after that I learned though. After that I'm like, oh yeah, I'm not buying a side. You know, I need an inspection. I need more. And I have boots in the ground in San Antonio, and I have boots in the ground in Austin. Right. I have family members that they're actually contractors and they live over there. So they're the ones that I call and I tell them, hey, go check this out for me. Go get photos. Go put a lockbox here. That's really why I buy. If they were somewhere else or I didn't have them, I don't know if I'd still be buying right there. That's really because I know that I could trust them and they do a good job.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thanks.
That's it, Brett. You're good.
Yeah, for now. I mean, I have a ton of questions, but I'm not far enough along to really, you know, like have a very clear path of, you know, which questions to ask and which order.
So flips are interesting to you. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, I mean, it's all really interesting.
Oh,
That's
okay.
what I'm saying. I'm just trying to take it all in right now and figure out my path more or less.
You know, it's something else about inspectors that I've learned, Christian. It's good to have one when you think you're done with your flip before you put it on the market. Have a professional inspection only because you know your buyer's going to do it, and I'd rather hear it before the buyers tell me, you know?
Yeah,
So,
I had one today, and I'm kind of feeling that way. I was like, man, I hope we get something, or you don't know, right? We don't know what they're gonna come up with.
well, you know, that's why I've learned I'll do that inspection and then correct the problems, and I'll give the buyer, here's the inspection we did when we thought we were done. We corrected all of this.
Nice.
You want to have another inspection, go ahead. But, you know, we already done it because we want to make sure we're delivering a quality product. And most of the buyers that I've done that with, they've really appreciated it. So if that's a helpful tip that I'm sharing, you know, because like I say, this has been a passion, and it's funny. My first rehabs were multi-unit mixed use.
Oh wow.
I was in my 20s. I didn't know any better, so I just it's like I you know, you're not afraid of anything when you're in your 20s. Now condos sometimes, because I know there's a condo association and they're going to torture me, or so that's what happens when you get older. You get more timid eventually.
I believe it. I believe it.
So what's the toughest lesson you've had to learn with doing flips? Was it that one you just mentioned where you kind of bought it sight unseen, or has there been a bigger one?
That was a hole that I did. I guess one of the ones, there was one I did an ovation. It wasn't a flip, it was an ovation in Texas. This was when I was super brave too. Not too long ago, but yeah, I was so brave about it, and I was like buying deals anywhere. And I bought this deal in Conroe, and when it was all said and done, right, that's when the interest rates dropped. No, when the interest rates went up, right when I bought it, and then I got stuck with it for so long. I ended like $20,000 in it. Mainly, it was all lost in holding costs. Like the flip was done, everything was done, but my competition was a bunch of new builds, and the new builds, they could give them better financing, and they're just a brand new house with better financing. So when the interest rates skyrocketed, I couldn't compete with them, and it took me a long time to sell it. And when I did sell it, and I lost 20, I was happy that it was out of my life.
Right.
More than anything, I wasn't crying about the 20. I was glad. I was like, man, I'm glad. This is gone.
Look,
But that was the mistake I made. I didn't look into the new builds, and I don't know. I didn't account for this interest rates to go up at the time.
yeah, I think one of the most important lessons you learn in business is that, you're going to take losses every once in a while. Nayeli, you're back. Question for Christian.
Yes, another question. Where did you say that you generate your leads from?
I use REI Reply to do SMS. I do a lot of that.
But
I think what Nayeli's asking is not the mechanics, but the where. Where do you find them? Prop stream. What do you?
title.
How do you? Is that? Am I correct?
Is that right?
Mhm.
So there's this thing called Autumn Property. I use that. I'll put the link right here. Autumn Data. I use that, and I use Property Radar.
Okay.
Property Radar, by the way, used to be before it became Property Radar. I think it was Foreclosure Radar, wasn't it?
I don't know when.
Yeah, I think so. Property really good foreclosure data, because that was how they were kind of born.
And I think it's better than the Autumn Data. Really, I really do. The Autumn Data, I bought it because it was like a yearly thing, and I thought it was gonna be better, but it wasn't. I think it's better. The Property Radar is better.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else with a question? This was a great audience. Thank you for asking so many questions, giving me a little break in here. I appreciate you truly. So, what haven't I asked you that I wanted to ask you? On the wholesale side, what's the toughest lesson you had to learn about wholesaling? What was the most difficult lesson?
I think the toughest part of the whole wholesaling is the first part, generating the lead. So once you get over that hump, like your business starts to work. So for me, I think that was it, right? Really, and then the part that you're kind of doing a lot of stuff and you don't know if it's gonna work or not, right? Like you're door knocking, you're sending a bunch of messages and spending a bunch of money, and you don't know if it's gonna work or not. So really getting over that hump where I know, okay, if I know that if I'm here between this time and this time, I'm sending X amount of messages and I have X amount of conversations, I am gonna get something. But understanding that was I think that was the hardest struggle with the wholesale. I don't have place you're selling deals. Really, I think once you got them at the right, if it's in a good area, it's gonna get sold. So I don't know. For me, I think that's the hardest part, to generate the actual leads.
Well, it sounds like you're headed down a road where all your acquisition effort will eventually be feeding your flip business.
I hope so. Yeah, yeah.
Right?
That's how I find the best deals too. I think the best. I bought some deals from wholesalers, but the best deals I bought are definitely ones that I generated.
So just to wrap things up, if people listening to this that are here or in the future on YouTube, what are you looking for from people? What kind of deals should people be bringing you? How do they reach you? You know, what would be the perfect collaboration that for you to work with you? The question to wrap up the evening is, what kind of collaborations are you looking for? What kind of deals should people be bringing to you? And how do they get a hold of you?
My cell phone is probably the best way to get a hold of me. The best way is to text me or call me. Call me is better than texting me, for sure. I pick up my phone all the time.
You want to state, 949-315-9504?
Mm-hmm.
I'll put that like a caption when I edit this. And what's your what kind of deals should people be bringing you?
Yeah, if you like I said, I help a lot of people with disposition. So if you have a deal that you're afraid you're not gonna be able to sell, or you need help finding a buyer, I'd be happy to help. If it's within the right criteria, I might even buy it myself. And yeah, I mean, I talk to people, sellers all the time. I'll put your EMD down if I'm doing the dispo or if I'm the one buying it. You know, that's basically it.
Well, thank you, sir. It has been such a pleasure to catch up with you in depth and hear about your journey, because we're all on parallel tracks in this community. So this has really been a lot of fun. I thank you for being a good sport and being so forthright and giving. Thank you so much. All right, everybody. I think we did it. We got the finale in, thankfully. We were just about to
Thank
leave.
you.
We thought maybe you weren't coming back. All right,
Oh,
everybody.
that's
Thank you.
Hey, next week I have my attorney. His name is Paul Boych. He's coming. You'll be able to, you want free legal advice? Come next week.